Good morning, grown black folks talk. Ladies, we are being set up to. Now, I've made this video 3 times, and I'm posting this one because I realize that I preach to us every day. I'm including myself, I'm a black woman too. And I'm talking to you about stuff, so I have to go back and listen to my stuff and remind me because I need to hold myself accountable for the stuff I tell you, and I'm telling y'all so that if you all see me slipping, you can go back and tell me, hey, Miss Deanne, what is this? You told us. I'm giving you the right to do that because we have to realize that we are in danger too. I let the video about the gentleman sit there for 2 days because I rarely talk to them. And I needed to give them some time because I am not part of the Black women empowerment or divestment movement. I have a deep love for black men. I come by it honestly. My father and my grandfathers, who did well by my mother and my grandmothers in general. They're not perfect because nobody is, but they understood the assignment. And my uncles, who generally understood the assignment. And my friends, who generally understand the assignment. And the black men I admire, who understand the assignment. It is very difficult with that background for me not to have a general attitude of love. But love means that you stop coddling people because coddling them sets them up to be destroyed. So I had to do the video with the love to give a solemn warning to the men and let that sit there for a few days and let them digest it without us running on to the next topic. However, it is important for me to come back and say, ladies, we do not need to get full of ourselves based on what's happening to the men because people have our numbers too. We are being set up as well. And the way that we're being set up is that we are being fed images of the grass being greener on the other side of the fence while being fed the numbers by each other of what's wrong with black men on a constant drumbeat level. Now, none of these numbers are incorrect. The data that I presented you on what is happening to black men is correct. And the data on white men, Latino men, and Asian men being more successful in the United States is also correct. The black man is at the bottom of men in the United States. That is true. And so, but you gotta notice all the marketing we're getting of white men with black women and white men with having black children kissing them and all the rest of it, pictures of that being used to promote things. It's not even subtle anymore because black women are the biggest consumers and we are being said this to consume. Big old white run Goldman Sachs is out here giving big time loans to black women. And this is the narrative we are being fed without really thinking about some things, okay? Okay, here's the problem with the grass is greener on the other side of the fence analogy for us, okay? Vetting is important. When you are a population of women who is known for coddling and cuddling and covering for a group of men that has treated us the way many black men have, all the men who want that kind of cuddling and coddling and still to be as evil are lined up waiting on you. Roll that around in your mind. I was told by a white man to my face with a black wife that white men are lazy and he was glad to get a black wife because he knew she was going to take good care of him. I was told this by a white man. Ladies, you are being set up too. You're being set up by the black manosphere that wants you to cuddle and coddle them and create space for them. But there's men in other communities that are waiting for you to do it. And there's history about this. Do I really need to go through the history of white men in particular? Because once I do that, you have to look at the Latino and Asian men who are Americanized and trying to be like them. But even if I didn't, go look at the caste system in Latin America and find out where black women are. You 5 levels to the bottom there instead of basically just 2 here. 5 levels. Go look it up. And then that's a very gendered society. So you're a woman. Automatically you're beneath a man. And then be black at the bottom, 5 levels deep. All I need to say about Asia is look at what China is doing in Africa, and that it was a Japanese man who put together the study that purported that black women are the least attractive. China and Japan are leading powers in Asia. Do I need to go any further? And then in America, they're trying to be like the white man whose only term for us, who only used for us for 246 years, was bedwench and mammy. We use those terms on each other as derogatory terms without trying to understand that we're about to run into the hands of people that for 246 years have had very little use for us beside that. Now, maybe in the last 40, 50 years, we like to think there was a change, but let me tell you something. Black women, we get a lot of purchase about talking about how black men are conquered. Do you know what happens to the women of a group of conquered men? You don't get any higher rights in a mass by having come from conquered men. When you are conquered men as a woman, you are over there only for the purpose and the pleasure of the people that are the conquerors. And when they no longer want you, they sell you and your children back into slavery. I told you about black men being in prison. Are you ready for you and your children to be sexually trafficked? Because we're not going to have a community to come home to unless black men get their situation figured out. So you're gonna get over across that line. You being marketed a dream about the grass being greener on the other side of the fence, but you haven't thought about what happens if everything on your side of the fence burns down. And there's nowhere for you to go back to. So you're gonna be doing tricks for other groups of men to keep yourself and your children from going to the streets and being sexually trafficked. And remember, on the other side of the fence, I mean, over on our side of the fence, we have, small time pimps by comparison. Over there, they run the big time prison houses and they run the big time sexual trafficking rings on the other side of the fence. If you don't know, you better ask somebody about sexual trafficking in Asia. If you don't know, you better ask somebody about sexual trafficking in South America. If you don't know, you better ask somebody about sexual trafficking run about by European men around the world, beginning in American European men too. You better ask somebody before you go marry up somewhere else and have nowhere in 10 years to come back to. And in the same way that black men are being put out there for their peacocking and they're being unable to handle large sums of money and responsibility, you don't think that 10 years from now the marketing can be changed so that we are positioned like that? You don't think the story of Patrice Khan Coolers is not going to come up again? Black woman has $90 million of some white folks' money, and all we've got to show is a number of houses that she's buying for herself and her wife. You don't think that's gonna come back? You don't think the story of Brittany Griner and what had to be done to get her back is not gonna be stored up and used against black women in the future? If you don't think so, you are naive. You need to catch up on American history. We too are being set up because the permanent underclass, in order to keep those prisons full, has to have black women to breed those black sons and grandsons and great grandsons. And I'm telling you now, white men, Asian men, and Latino men have no intention of letting their daughters in mass have those children. And they don't intend to father them either. See, other groups of people understand legacy and lineage. Now, we talk about this all the time. Well, see, other groups of men understand. Okay, well, here's the issue with that, particularly for those of you who want white men. White men have a legacy of white supremacy to pass on. Europe has pretty much dominated almost the entire earth. Asia is bidding for that spot now. So European and Asian men have a legacy to pass on to their own. I already talked about China and Japan dominate Asia. They're not thinking about having most of their children with black women. That would be against the purpose because they're trying to get the white man's spot. The white man's trying to pass on his stuff to his white sons. So you notice if you look at black prominent couples, you see more middle-aged black prominent couples. You don't see many of them with many children either if they married younger. You're going to see black women beautiful in middle age, but you're not going to see as many young because the way it's being marketed to white men is later on in life when you've got what you needed from the white woman and you got your children to pass on your supremacist legacy to. Yeah, you might have a black woman later, but she's not going to be the principal wife. So understand that many of you younger black women thinking you're just going to get a young black man and everybody's going to be willing to have biracial babies. You're not going to get into the 1% like that. That's not going to happen because other groups of men understand legacy. Anybody can have a bloodline. Other groups of men understand legacy. So you're not going to get up as high as you think you are. Now, does that mean we should give black men another chance? No. It doesn't matter who the man is. If he's no good, leave him right where he is. If you share the truth of the situation with a man and you see him circling the drain, let him circle it alone. But don't go run off into the hands of another man who has the same inclinations. And the United States is not doing really well. They sit up here dilly-dallying about these recession numbers, but the classic definition of recession is 2 quarters of contracting economic growth in a row. We're there, but then, well, the employment numbers are so strong. This really can't be a recession. Look, man, either it is or it ain't by your own definition. Just because you change the definition so it wouldn't be a recession, that just means you lied. The United States is in trouble. So other groups of men are circling the drain too, not getting up on this 21st century. I keep trying to say, and I keep trying to tell you, and I keep trying to say it, and I keep trying to say it, and I'm going to keep saying it. Those of you, men or women, are in the same trap because all y'all think about is what kind of job can my degree or not having a degree get me? You in the same bag. You're in the same bag. You got to get up on these other two forms of income. And ladies, something we have to remember. It annoys us no end when men throw back into our face that we have equality and we ought to be able to do this and we ought to be able to do that. But if they would just leave off that part about us being able to do this to help them do what they should be doing for themselves, redirect that into thinking that you need to master these things for yourself. You have equal access to the internet. I know a lot of us as black women feel overworked and underpaid, and we would like to live in rest and luxury too. You better learn how to give it to yourself. This is how we spring the trap. Because a desperate woman in this society, if she's black, is going to be enslaved here or there. It doesn't matter where. That's the only spot for you if you cannot provide for yourself. And I'm not just talking about money. And I'll do a separate video on how we all spring the trap. Okay? But I'm not just talking about money. Do you, if you want a man that understands the assignment, do you understand the assignment? And black men here are talking about, yeah, do you understand how to cook and clean and be fit, feminine, and friendly? That's part of the package, but I'm not talking about that. If you want to lead a quiet and peaceful, if you want a man who will lead you in a quiet and peaceful and healthy life, do you know he's looking for a quiet, peaceful, and healthy woman? And I don't just mean physical health. I mean, we all come in different sizes and shapes. Like my dad, my mom, and I were talking about this. My dad is a big bone linebacker, and I have his body type. I will never be able to lose enough weight to satisfy some people. It's just not going to be possible. With COVID at this moment, I'm in free fall, but that's not healthy because I'm also running deficiencies because of it. That's not healthy. So I'm beginning to be able to eat as much as I used to eat, but it's still a slow process. Like the second meal I ate today is still not happily doing what it needs to do. This is actually really early on, which is one of the reasons I'm still up making videos today because that second meal is still a real challenge. So I'm in free fall right now, but that's not healthy for me. But I'm never going to be able to get below. I'm never going to be a size 6. That's not going to happen. And probably not even a size 8. I have big bones. If you look, you can actually see right here where this bone begins to come through. At my size, you can see that little indentation right there where that bone is. I'm never going to be able to be what it is that people say they're looking for based on the standards of a cute little white 20-year-old. I'm also 41. That's never going to happen. So there's always going to be people of different shapes and sizes in this world because human beings are varied. But up here, emotionally, are you healthy? Because that's going to help you find wherever your healthy place is. Whether your healthy place is a size 6 for those of you that can, or at least I can be small in a size 16. Getting there. It's nice to be able to catch lightning sales with the money I have coming in right now, but it's nice to be able to buy clothes that actually fit that are a lot smaller. It's a nice problem to have. Although, again, COVID has done a little bit more damage than I originally realized. You're not supposed to be doing it quite this fast. But Are you going to be able to do the things that are going to be necessary when you are in a situation like this to be able to maintain your mentality and to make use of your time while you deal with what you have to deal with? Are you going to be able to roll with life's punches because you're healthy enough? Because getting old is not cute and getting sick is not cute. And not only are you going to have to go through that, so is your partner. If you want to be a man that understands the assignment, are you healed and healthy on the inside enough to be able to do this so that you can work on the outside? Tony Gaskins makes a good point. Brain, brand, and body, the 3 Bs. Shout out Tony Gaskins. He really appreciates it when people quote him correctly. Brain, brand, body, 3 Bs. Are you healthy enough and healed enough to understand your responsibility to yourself to work on those 3 things and to be focused on that so that when you find somebody who's willing to appreciate it and is powerful enough in themselves and have enough of a perfect can see, oh gosh, I have a rocket and there's a rocket fuel. By the way, rocket fuel is expensive. And if you don't have a rocket, you don't have anything to put it in. That's sort of how you have to think about yourself. But hey, you have value no matter what you choose to do and who you choose to be with. Are you willing to walk in that? Are you willing to always be refining that shine? Free fall or no free fall. I'm going to take a walk tomorrow and get it in. And if it's not too windy, I may have something to talk to y'all about. Well, not tomorrow, actually today. If I feel well, and I mean, minus this, like I said, eating is still an adventure. Provided I'm feeling well enough, I'll get it in. Why? Because I can do better than what I'm doing today. And you want to be with someone who, as a human being, is doing the same thing. You want him to understand the society, the assignment that he's supposed to make himself and your life better. Do you understand the assignment, ladies? The way you spring a trap is by understanding the assignment and not letting anybody into your life who doesn't. You stop trying to change men that don't understand the assignment and leave them alone right where they are and not running off into the company of another one. There are 3 men on this earth right now who understand that when I understood they were not ready for the assignment, actually 4. When I leave you, I leave you right there. And that's what you have to do. And if I'm 41, 51, 61, 71, 81, or 91 and still single, I'm going to live and lead a quiet and peaceful life. And I'm not going to have a man in my life who's going to disturb that. The only way a man gets into my life is that he has to add to it and not subtract. He has to invest and not bleed. And that also goes for the women, because I have to do a video about how we all spring the trap next. I won't put it in this one. But that's the attitude you got to have. You have to be willing to lead a quiet and peaceful life, a productive life. And that don't always mean producing for a capitalist society. What gifts and what talents do you have, ladies? Are you capable of living a full and beautiful life for yourself? And if you're not, don't even bother to take your desperation. You will be enslaved inside the Black community or outside, but you go into the same place. You might get to enjoy a few more creature comforts. But if you go ahead and you master this here, there's nothing out there that you can't get for yourself. If you need those things, other than learn how to do lightning sales on Amazon and learn how to get those good Goodwill boutiques, there's nothing you can't have for you. You can get these things for yourselves on a material level. And then you also need to come talk to understand and been healed enough to be able to move away from American materialism enough so that you don't need as much of this. So you can get comfortable living with yourself and enjoying what is available to everyone in this actually still very abundant world. But I will talk about that when we talk about springing the trap for everybody. But ladies, you're being set up too. You're being sold the same vision. I'm going to close by talking about what Erica De Niro said you need to do. And I'm going to give you, then after that, I'm going to give you the Christian upgrade for those of you who are saved. Ladies, decenter chasing after men, decenter men. Shout out to Erica of America De Niro TV who said this first. Decenter men entirely. Don't make getting a man the goal of your life. Don't make attention from men the goal of your life. You've been programmed to think about getting married and all the rest of it, and idolizing that part of your life. Stop it. It will have you enslaved as a Black woman. Here or there, it does not matter. Learn how to live a full, free human life for yourself. If you are a Christian, let me go one step up for you. You ought to already know this. Jesus did not leave an image of us for us to worship. Seek ye first what? Not to be married, not to be a baby mama, not to get a white man, not to get a black man, not to get a Latino man, or an Asian man, or a Pacific Islander man, or Native American man, not to get a man, not to have children. Seek ye first what? The kingdom of God and his righteousness and all these things. Because in those days, if a woman didn't have a husband, they didn't expect her to be able to get food, clothing, and shelter. All these things will be added unto you, for your Father knows you have need of all these things. God the Father will take care of you if no man steps up. He will have his community of Christian brothers and sisters do it. I've seen this too many times because of widows that I have been sent along. I'm no relation to them. But the Lord will let his people know to take care of his daughters who trust in him at any age. Decenter the pursuit of men. Men should be pursuing you, and you should approve the best man for the job. Credit to Pink Pill for having said that. Crystal and Garrison. I don't agree with her on everything, but I'll credit her for being one of the first Black women I encountered who put this in space. Stop centering the idea that only a man can give you the life you intended to have. Heal, please. The secular resources will be in the chat. For those of you who are Christians, there's no excuse. You have to learn how to call on God for the things that you need, including if you are meant to have a husband. You are not meant to have a baby daddy. Flee fornication. That's what your Bible says. Your pastor may not mention it because he wants your offering, but flee fornication. And then you don't have to deal with these no good fornicating men. Flee fornication. God will bless you single and abstinent. And God will bless you if you have already messed up on that, but he does not expect you to continue it. And to continue to be tied to a group of men, especially in the Black community, that is doomed in the way that many of them are going to be doomed. You don't have to be tied to that. You have to, as a Christian, do things God's way. Well, why want God to rescue me from this and that? God is trying to rescue you in advance. God is trying to rescue us in advance, ladies, because you being set up too. You being set up by Black men that will promise you anything to get between your legs and then run. Well, you can avoid all that. Well, I have needs too. Your Father in heaven knows that you have those needs. And if you really cannot contain, God said it is cool for you to be married, but you better count on me to bring you a husband. And let that man pursue you. And again, running to another community is not the business. I told you a white man told me in my face how lazy some of them are and how they're looking to pick up a bed wench and a mammy. I just told you this. A white man told me to my face. This has been the 2 unhappiest videos I think I've ever done. But it is necessary. Because ladies and gentlemen, not that one. Ladies and gentlemen, as I sit up here not feeling well and seeking to use my time wisely, for Black people in America, this is what is at stake. We're getting to an economic place where the slightest mistake on the earned income area is going to have you on the street because the safety nets are being pulled away. So us getting locked in to arguing with each other about not being successful at this and looking at each other and pointing fingers about why aren't you doing this and why aren't you doing this is going to get us here. I'm telling you the things that lead to life. A life in peace and freedom. And I'm going to do my next video about how do we spring the trap. What's actually the best way of doing this. But ladies, this is your show. You too are being set up. You are being set up to go back into slavery by means of breeding it. Either directly with Black men who do not deserve to have a lineage through you, or with all these other men you think you're going to escape to, But if you can't go jump through hoops for them, they still have ways to put you and your children back. Don't get it twisted. Especially those of you think you want a white man. Do you know who was selling off black women's children 160 years ago? I thought you did. Don't play. You see these men carrying these Confederate flags around, and the Latino and Asian men that want to be just like them. Don't play. Confederates moved to Brazil because slavery was still allowed there. Or learn about the Confederados and the other place in the world you can still find that flag. Learn about how it's very hard for black Mexicans to have the rights, Afro-Mexicans to have the rights that Mexicans of lighter skin enjoy even to this day, and how as a black person you're gonna have a really hard time getting Mexican citizenship. Do some research. A lot of black women moving to Mexico. Hey, ladies, we're being set up. Being set up. You are the mothers of the black people that will be here in the 21st century, or half black. The same way black men are going to be the fathers. Please escape the trap for you and the children that you will bear for the rest of the 21st century. All right. Gonna do a more hopeful one. How do we both escape the trap? Even if we don't escape it together. That's the next video. Because it's just all this grimness I have to put out is very hard on me. It's heartbreaking. But somebody has to do it. And so since the Lord's put it on me to do it, I'm going to be faithful to it. I'll see you in a little while with the second video. How do we both escape this trap? Thank you for listening.